So one thing I haven't talked a lot about is the appeals process, and the success story I posted yesterday, she asked me to talk about the appeals process because, once you get a final order, you go to trial, or even during temporary hearings, sometimes the high conflict parent will appeal. They don't like the decision, they think the judge got it wrong, and so they appeal it. There came a point in my battle where I just knew every time I won, there was most likely going to be an appeal. This is why a win never felt like a win, because the judge would side with me and then I'd look at my lawyer and go, so 30 days? He has 30 days to appeal, right? We just knew it was coming. Funny, but not funny, because financially it was devastating to go through an appeals process after I'd just gone through a hearing that cost thousands of dollars. The appeals process is a little bit different than litigating for a decision in family court on a specific issue. The appeals process is very legal. So the appeals judge or judges, if you have more than one in your appeals process, are not there to make a different decision. They're there to decide if the judge followed the law and followed the evidence, or one or the other. So here, in my case, the other side had to prove that the judge made an error in law or an error in evidence, following the evidence. It's difficult for me to describe the difference, but one of them is that I was very removed from the process. And so because I had a lawyer, she was the one who was, in charge of writing up all of the material and arguing everything, and I didn't speak. So I didn't speak during any of that process. I didn't have to sign anything during that process because it was all just between the lawyers. It was the lawyers duking it out. My lawyer was trying to prove the judge followed the law and followed the evidence, and the other side was trying to prove there was some kind of error or something the judge didn't consider that they should have considered. In some cases, I was in front of one judge, depending on the level of appeal, and in other cases, I was in front of 3 judges. In the Supreme Court, it was all on paper. So the Supreme Court was a leave to appeal, and that meant the other side had to ask permission, essentially, had to prove that they had a case for the appeal before we actually got to the appeal. So this is all, again, very litigious. So if you're not following, I totally get it. But essentially the Supreme Court was 3 judges, and that was all on paper. There was no appearance for that. So we submitted everything and waited for a decision, and that was dismissed. He was not allowed to appeal. So we won the leave to appeal, which is where my case ended. The Supreme Court only deals with matters of public importance, and thankfully my ex was not a matter of public importance.